Marianne Goodnight died, and about 3 years later, he followed her, and they're buried out on the hill at the Goodnight Cemetery.
How much of his softer side do you think came from her?
I'm sure quite a bit, but I think it had also come from his mother before. He showed this respect for another person, care of animals and all, even before. He was never a wild young man. When he started, and he was young at the time, his cattle drives and men working for him in his ranching, no drinking was allowed, no gambling, no fighting. If such a circumstance occurred, any of the time he had men working for him, they were fired immediately. And one comment, one place, he said he had held to this. A few times there were circumstances that he would rather not have. He had to let somebody go that he really didn't want to let go. There were extenuating circumstances. But he was also rock hard with his softness. He let them go. Those were the rules, and you followed the rules. Speaking of his softness, Mother said one time there were many stories about his harshness, his short temper, etc. But she said never did she ever feel he was even short with her. And never once did he raise his voice to her. And she says there are probably times he would have liked to, because she was just 18 and moved into the big house and became a part of that family. When I was 2, Goodnight had given this ranch to my dad. I think it reads something like for years of service and work that he had done for him. And Mother and Dad moved down here and started their own ranch. Right here, kind of tucked within the old Goodnight Ranch. We were surrounded on 3 sides by them. And I had been born in that big house when Mother and Dad were working there. Dad was foreman there. And my sister was 4 years older than I was. So they had lived in a separate house at the time that she was born. There were about 5 houses scattered about the big house at that time. And one of those had been set aside as the foreman's house. And that was at the particular time that my sis was born. And I don't know, perhaps it was because, well, I don't know why. They moved back into the headquarters, perhaps to be with him or something, I don't know. And that's where I was born. And then we moved here, and it's been in the family ever since. Just a few years ago, Brian Price moved from head of the museum in Canyon to the Cowboy Hall of Fame, and there found an old film that he had heard about. I had not heard about it, and I never heard my parents mention it, but obviously they did know about it because it had been shown in Claude, and people went to see the old silent movie. Goodnight had, he was always looking ahead and interested in things, and there was a new thing out, and that was the movie, and he had gotten interested in it and got a projector and had he made a movie of, let's see, he called it Old Texas. And it's a silent movie, and it has some jerky moments. But if you compare it with other silent movies, it's not bad. a lot of Indians in it, and a very touching part at the conclusion about the old Kiowa legend. The Great Spirit had given them the buffalo, and when the buffalo were gone, their Indian would be gone. The Kiowa would be no more if the herds left them. And, of course, that's what happened. It closes with the Indians riding off into the distance and the tumbleweeds blowing around them. We don't see tumbleweeds anymore, but they're very much a part of our Western culture. There used to be a wall of them would blow in, and you see one occasionally, but they're not. Different farming practices have changed that. But this picture in the film is particularly interesting because you don't have the mesquite that we have infesting our plains today. And we did have the tumbleweed, and it shows the Indian riding off in the distance and recounts the old Kiowa legend.